Welcome back to another episode of the Stopping Pod. I got my good friend with here, known him since college days at Lehman, Gabriel Lorenzo. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a long time coming, man. It's been a long time coming, but we finally made it happen. I'm excited.
You
There's a lot
finally
of great
got that.
storylines in the NBA and sports, so hyped to be here, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, first thing I wanted to ask you, since you are a Nets fan, a
Yes.
long-standing Nets fan for a long time, I want to ask you about the D'Lo situation. Ooh, see, came prepared.
You ready, bro?
I want to ask you about the D'Lo situation with him going to Brooklyn. And for a second time, and this time he made it clear that he wants to stay here. So what do you think about that?
First of all, D'Lo, I'm glad to have him back. We all know his best year with the in his entire career was with the Brooklyn Nets. We saw what he did. He was an all-star. Kenny Atkinson was here, who now is in Cleveland. So for him to be back and be able to put on a show like he is, I'm excited for him. In terms of him wanting to stay long term, listen, if it's in the Nets plans, to be honest, as Brooklyn Nets fans right now, we know that we are looking into the future. And with having D'Lo wanting to be here, you see the kind of player he is. He plays more freely. When he was in the Lakers, as we all know, there was pressure every day having to come to work and think about whether or not he was going to get traded. That would be his last night with the Lakers, right? Now that you have him in the Brooklyn Nets and he's playing freely, a team which we all know is planning for the future, why wouldn't you want him back? He's someone who's going to come bring good energy with those young guys who we all trying to see what they can do. And we're seeing what they can do. Like they can play very well, but it's all about the future for the Nets. And for him, truly, like his numbers have increased a little bit compared to when he was on the Lakers. Like he's averaging more in assists, more in points, and obviously his less games. However, him playing freely, this is good for his career. You saw what happened with Dennis Schroeder this past season. He was playing very well to start the year. We traded him to the Warriors. He obviously got traded multiple times. At the end of the day, like it's a good situation for him. It's a good situation for the Brooklyn Nets because it works in tandem. He gets to play freely and we get to develop the young guys, and he's perfect for the locker room.
I totally agree with that. What do you think that him and Cam Thomas can work together long term, or do you think this might be time to move on for Cam Thomas?
What's long term? This is the Brooklyn Nets. Players get flipped all the time. Cam Thomas, I love Cam Thomas, and I know we want to keep Cam Thomas, but Cam's been here what 5 years now. He's been
I
here
believe so.
before. Yeah, he was here before KD, Kyrie, and James Harden got here. He was here during them. Sometimes was in and out of the rotation. Now he's here after them. The Nets aren't going anywhere this season. Next year, we'll see what we can do. Like, how long is Cam going to want to stay in the situation where the team doesn't really have a future in terms of being contender? So for me, I would love to see them together, but I also understand like the big like let's be real. If I'm playing on if we're on a big market team and we're not playing well, how long are you going to keep a player before you flip them around to see what you can get in the draft? Because it looks like that's what the Nets going to do. They have their pick, they have future Phoenix Suns picks, if I'm not mistaken, but they definitely do have New York Knicks picks. So it's like they're trying to set themselves up for the future. And if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, man, I'll do everything to keep him around. I love watching him play. Cam Buckets is a bucket. At the end of the day, if we're not winning and he's playing well, it's in our best interest to trade him and get those picks, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see them potentially keeping him, but if it was a possibility of him getting swapped out for more picks, then hey, why not? You're going to build towards the future.
Yeah.
I feel like Brooklyn, they was in like a weird state with KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, and
Yep.
we all know how that turned out. And out of all that, Cam, he was still there. He was putting up numbers, even though he was out the rotation sometimes, which for the life of me, I didn't understand. And he showed that he deserves to be here. He deserves to be in the rotation. To me, he is the best scorer on the team. So why not keep him?
Why not? And my question to you, like you know how the Nets are. Every time they try to experiment with stars and everything, there's young guys who are always on the team who are very valuable that end up being, quite frankly, collateral damage. How do you feel about a player like Cam Thomas? Now he actually has an opportunity to play freely, but then the team's not winning. Would you want to keep him?
Yeah, I mean, he honestly he been putting up 30, 40 balls and everything, and I feel like you need that guy, that one guy who can get you a bucket no matter what the situation is.
Yep.
So for a young team who's still trying to learn who they are going forward, and Cam Thomas, we don't even know how he's going to be going forward. Like he's still developing. Is he only like 23, 24?
Correct. He's right there. And the wild part about it is, again, the Nets, If it wasn't for the KD, Kyrie, James Harden situation, they would probably be in the situation that they are now, right? They had Kenny Atkinson, don't get me wrong. He was building something. However, what does that look like for the Nets? What's the future like for them? It's like you either roll the dice and see if you could do something like they did in that era, and now you're in a situation where you're trying to plan for the draft. And does Cam Thomas fit that timeline? Does he fit that future look? So that's what it all comes down to right now.
Yeah, I could definitely see them keeping him going forward because why not? You see what you got with him. Keep trying to develop that. You got D'Lo now, who would love to probably play with someone like that, but also have the ball in his hands a lot more. And you got some pieces, but you
Gotta
still
hit on
got
the draft though. Have to hit on the draft. We can't miss on the draft. If you miss on the draft, this will all be for naught because we have our picks, we have other picks. So for us, we have to hit. You saw what OKC's done. You see now other organizations that also have a bunch of picks. They have to hit. The Nets also have to hit for all of this to make sense.
But you know what's funny? I thought they would have got Cam Johnson in a deal before the deadline. Yeah. I don't know what happened with that, but do you see him with this team going forward?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like all of these players, we all know like they're playing freely, they're doing what they're doing. They're not trying to think about all of that stuff because the team's not winning. Like there's a chance that all of these players could go. Like Cam Johnson's been having a great year shooting it. He was in the 3-point contest. Cam Thomas, the same thing. But before them, Dennis Schroeder was traded, right? There's so many people who've been in and out because of that. Like our coach right now, he's a great coach. Coach of Team Canada. But is he going to be here the long term, or is he just here during the times where the team's not well? Then they bring in somebody else, like they did Kenny Atkinson. The team was well, then they brought in Steve Nash because that's who Kyrie and KD wanted. So for me, it's like everyone on the team right now is we don't know. Like they could be moved next season during the offseason because the Nets are in a place right now where they're trying to rebuild. They're trying to put themselves in a position through the draft to be able to sustain success and be able to build something.
So switching gears. No, I think that they have a lot to figure out, and ultimately they just have to hit on these drafts because that's really what it's going to come down to. If you get a really solid player in this draft, and they could potentially be in the top 5, so if you can land something there, and a very good draft coming up,
yes,
you want to have something to build with.
Have to hit on the draft in order for this to mean something. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with that. So switching gears to the team that's across the bridge with the New York Knicks. So Brunson's out for 2 weeks. And, the Knicks have been inconsistent with how they've been playing defensively. Do you think this will really take a toll on the Knicks going forward, or will this be possibly beneficial because other players will have to be able to step up in his absence and try to figure out, all right, I can really contribute to this team no matter what the situation is?
You asking me if the Knicks are going to be good without Brunson? That's what you're asking me?
Yes.
Anytime you lose Jalen Brunson, your star, your point guard, of course, everyone expects for them to not do well. Like, let's be real. Jalen Brunson this year, who's been a superstar ever since last year, his playoff run. He's right there in the superstar talk. Karl Anthony Towns is on your team. He helped you as well. You're the number 3 seed. We all know that they are 0-9 against the Lakers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? So now that you're going to be without Jalen Brunson, we all know that's a huge blow. But at the same time, to your point, like there's an opportunity for other players to be able to step in. Like we've seen players who not play well when all of them are out there. Mikal Bridges, there's been a lot of question marks about him, who we traded from my Nets, right? Question marks about what his role is and what he's doing on the Knicks. But now that Jalen Brunson is out, we're going to get to see him, guys like Josh Hart, guys all over in the lineup, in the rotation, who will be able to step up. But the question, again, are the Knicks going to be able to sustain and keep that number 3 seed? Like, do we know if they're going to keep the 3rd seed? That's 2 weeks, potentially 3 weeks without Jalen Brunson. That's a lot of basketball going into April when the playoffs start. So for me, I believe the Knicks are going to be just fine when Jalen Brunson gets back. It's about weathering the storm. And I'm going to be real with you, man. Anytime you lose Brunson, you're a player like Brunson, you're going to struggle. Like, just call it what it is. I feel like they're going to have to do what they can, but it is Jalen Brunson you're losing out on. That's not an easy person to replace.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard. There's been a lot of talks about Mikal Bridges, how he's been playing this year. I feel like a lot of people feel like he should be playing better. I feel like he's doing what he normally does. He gets you, 15, 17. He'll get you the occasional 20.
Right.
He plays good defense. What do you think about what you've seen from him so far this season?
Listen, when Mikal, we can't compare Mikal to the on the Knicks compared to Mikal on the Nets, because on that team, he was a guy that they went to, like literally when we traded for him, right? Kevin Durant to Phoenix, he was averaging 25 for the rest of the season. This year, actually, excuse me, the year before when he played a full year with the Nets, he averaged around what 18, 19 points a game, and that was on a
Mhm.
team that struggled, didn't make the playoffs, right? Now he's on the Knicks in the NBA. Any team you play on, any great team you play on, it's about a definitive role. And for him, his role is to be a 3-and-D wing. Play defense, run the floor, bring energy, hit his shots. That's all his game is. So when you average 17, 15 on the Knicks doing that, you're doing well. So generally speaking, he's playing well. But we all feel like the Knicks could be in an even better place because there are games like in those games where they're 0-9 against top 3 teams in the entire NBA where he doesn't play well. Where you look at his stats and it's like, wow, he missed all of his shots, right? So they need him to step up. They really do. If they're gonna win, go to a conference championship like they didn't do last year due to injury because Brunson went down again. They're gonna need him to step up. Karl Anthony Towns has been their best player this year, but Mikal Bridges has to be the guy to step up and be the X factor because he's the third guy who's the number third option, who could be the best third option in the entire NBA.
Yeah, I could. It's been hard for me as a Knicks fan to really
Yeah,
accept
what do
that.
you
Like,
feel about this, man? I need to know. How you
because it's hard. That's what I'm saying. It's hard because it's like when the trade happened, not the Mikal Bridges trade for the Karl Anthony Towns trade. I wasn't too sure about it. Like, Cat is a good player. He's great. But we all know his questions about defense. And I
right,
was like, man, like this is going to be hard because it's like we had a solid defensive lineup before, but then we lost Hartenstein.
yeah,
Mitchell Robinson went down. He's in and out the lineup. And then, and DiVincenzo, he's a good defender too.
right,
But, ultimately with this team, he'll be coming off the bench, but that's a good solid piece to come off the
right,
bench. Ultimately, we don't really have a bench right now except
right.
Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson's been out. We don't really have any other big set Precious Achua and the Ariel kid. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard. It's hard right now. And I think a few weeks ago I seen that they was like 0-9. Well, I think at the time 0-7 against
yeah,
top
yeah.
teams.
0-9 now because they lost to the
Yeah.
Lakers. You see?
Yep. So I was like, man, this is not good
And
because
here's my thing to you. You did trade Julius Randle for Cat. How do you feel about the Knicks now with Julius Randle? With Cat versus Julius Randle. How do you feel about the Knicks with that team?
you know, honestly, I'm for me personally, I felt like we should have kept Julius Randle, but
Interesting.
I feel like because of what Julius Randle brings to the table as well. But it's no knock on Cat. Cat is great, but I feel like the fit was a little bit better. Randle's a little more mobile defensively when
Yeah,
he wants to play defense than Carl Towns is.
yeah.
So him with Mitchell Robinson, it would have made a lot more sense. And now it's like I'm not sure how Cat and Mitch will play together because they both be so foul prone.
Yo, for real. We saw it against the Lakers too, right? He was at the
Mm-hmm.
4 Cat, and you had Mitchell Robinson at the 5. And Mitchell Robinson played like what, like 12 minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
And he was in
Mm-hmm.
like in foul trouble. And he just came back from injury. So it's
Exactly.
crazy for the Knicks. Like,
Mm-hmm. So it's like and then the Knicks didn't do anything during the deadline to get another big.
another
And
big.
like I was at least saying like we gotta get somebody. Like, go get like Robert Williams from Portland. Get somebody, but they didn't do nothing. It's like
Yeah.
that to me that's gonna really hurt them.
Yeah, and that's why now that you lose Brunson, you don't have a legitimate big. You're gonna ask Cat to do more. Mikal Bridges, hopefully he steps up. But McBride, again, is gonna come down to guys like him to be able to step in because Jalen Brunson going down, Mitchell
Mm-hmm.
Robinson and Cat not looking like they fit perfectly like that, playing together. There's much more pressure for the New York Knicks going into the playoffs. There's a month left, and Brunson's gonna be out for 2 to 3 of those. It's gonna be a big time. Like all the weaknesses of the New York Knicks are about to be put right in front of everybody. Because again, you have to have bigs, and they're struggling with Mitchell Robinson and Cat. And now that Jalen Brunson is going down, it's something to look out for sure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the next one I wanted to talking about Brunson's old teammate Luka Doncic.
Oh man,
He ultimately, has been traded to the Lakers, and the Lakers have been looking good with LeBron, Reeves, and Luka. Do you think they're gonna make a push with LeBron going down for these next few weeks as well?
oh man. Without LeBron, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
With LeBron, heck yes, that's the scariest team in the entire NBA with LeBron. But if you ask me, just Luca and Austin Reeves, listen, Luca is a guy is an offense to himself, right? You see the way he plays. He plays at his own pace. He controls and all the all the tempo. He controls the entire game. Coaches are frustrated to game plan against him because you see JJ Redick, he says it too. If you play the kind of coverage that you play on Luca, you're going to die. That's what Luca brings to a team. But without LeBron now as a second running mate, you're going to need Austin Reeves to step up. Rui Hachimura, who need to step up. Dalton Connect, a rookie, he deserves a lot of praise. That dude is a knockdown shooter. Every time I should see him shoot, I feel like it's going to go in. Like, he is a huge piece for them. In terms of making a run without LeBron, these next, 2 weeks he's going to be out now with the groin injury. They could definitely do it. They've been 10-2 since the Luka trade. They won 8 straight. They just lost last night, obviously, to the Boston Celtics. But they have a chance to make a run. They're already the number 2 seed. LeBron will be back before the playoffs. For them, it's all about finishing as the number 2. If they could finish the number 2 seed, they can avoid a lot of matchups. And for them, I think you got to get that number 2 so you could avoid Denver as much as possible. You see what I'm saying? You want to avoid them as much as possible.
So Denver's right there. I think with the loss last night, the Lakers moved to third. But probably with the loss today, Denver probably moved back to third.
Exactly.
So they're gonna probably flip flopping for the rest of the season. To be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. And then with that too, if let's say LeBron misses out the rest of the season, right? You're now asking Luka to carry them throughout the rest of the season, and they got to go up against OKC. If I'm not mistaken, it's coming up in a few days. That's going to be tough. Luka, who also has his injuries, we saw him last night too against the Celtics, was in pain a little bit. So what's to say moving forward that he might not miss a game or two? And if he misses a game or two, we know the Lakers are going to not win. There's a good chance they're going to lose those games.
And there's a report that came out today that Luka is questionable for the next game. I believe tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think him and someone else. Oh, Jackson Hayes. They're both questionable.
But here's the thing though. They play the Nets. But you know what's wild? I'm seeing all the teams. As a Nets fan, this is frustrating because I feel like they're trying to play my team. I'm starting to see all the top teams take their players off when they go up against us. Like Jalen Williams, Shaq Holmgren and them didn't play against us. OKC, Shea Alexander did, and they still won. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they trying, like they taking slights on my team. We're the day off team. That's what they're treating my Brooklyn Nets like. The Lakers now, LeBron's out, Luka's gonna sit out. Jackson Hayes is out. What if we see someone like Rui sit out? They don't care to lose to the Nets. No one cares about the Nets because they know they can still. It's frustrating.
I mean, listen, y'all gonna get back there, but it's just gotta be a long process right now.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro.
So, switching gears to the Celtics.
Yeah, man.
The Lakers rivals. So Jayson Tatum feels like he's being overlooked and overrated. Do you feel like he's overrated? But I'm gonna read the quote to you.
Yeah.
In New York, I think it was the New York Times. I did my part. Tatum said after leading the Celtics in points, rebounds, assists in the finals. It's the world we live in, and everything is narrative based. The NBA has been around almost 80 years. There's only 6 people to lead a team in points, rebounds, and assists in a championship.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that didn't win Finals MVP. I'm the odd man out, and I'm okay with that. They voted for someone else, which is cool. I can control what I can control. Whoever people want to vote for, it's out of my control. What do you feel about that?
So he led his team in points, rebounds, and assists in the finals, and he still didn't get Finals MVP. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's wild. He should have gotten it. Let's be honest, if we're going by that. But my thing is, the first thing I think about, he should have got Finals MVP. What are you saying? Jaylen Brown didn't deserve it? Your teammate? There's been rumors about how, and in the longest, them coming into the league, how they may not be on the same page. They have a power struggle. Who's the alpha? Who's the beta? Right? We've heard that throughout their entire careers when they were playing together. And now Tatum saying this, I feel. Listen, it's weird to say because at the end of the day, your teammate won. He could have prefaced it better. However, he should have won that Finals MVP. But here's the thing we got to talk about with Jayson Tatum, because this is what I wanted to talk about. Tatum is a dude who is not slept on. He is who he is. He is a superstar. But the difference between him and the other stars in the league is that they individually have separated themselves from the pack from everyone else. Nikola Jokic, a 3-time MVP, an NBA champion. We know what he does every night. Triple-double God. We know that. Shea Alexander is what, 24, 25, and he led the league in scoring last year. Is going to do it again. MVP front runner last year and is the favorite this year. He separated himself. OKC's running through the league. You got Luka Doncic. We all know what he can do. He went to the finals last year, carried, led the Mavericks to that team. And even without Kyrie Irving, they went to a conference finals in 2022 against the Golden State Warriors where they ultimately lost. So we know what he can do. Joel Embiid, before he got injured, was an MVP, was a dominant 30, 12 a night. The thing with Jayson Tatum is when He can average 38-4. He could have a bad game, and we'll see that he shot 7 of 24 for like 17 points, and his team still won. Shoot 7 of 18, 11 of 32 or whatever, and his team still won by like 15. So now we look at your team. You have Jaylen Brown, you have Kristaps Porzingis, you have Derek White, you have Drew Holiday. Both of these guys, Olympians, alongside Jayson Tatum, right? You have all of these guys. So when your team wins, regardless of what you do, we say it wasn't you individually. You have a team no matter what. That's why we look at guys like Anthony Edwards. Like I said, Luka, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, LeBron, KD. They separated themselves. JT, on the other hand, it's like he has everything around him. You know what I'm saying? And no one here is going to sit here and say that he should just go into a lesser situation to prove that he's that dude. The bottom line is he's just in a situation where he has so much that no matter what he does, his team is going to be good. So he's not overrated. He's slept on because everyone around him is just separated themselves and he hasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way. I was literally saying that during the game. It's like, you got Horford, Holiday, Brown, and when Porzingis is healthy, that's 4 All-Stars on your team.
What?
4 All-Stars, whatever you want to look at it. And then you got Derek White, who made a push for almost making the All-Star team last year.
One of the best all-around role players, one of the best all-around players in the league, period.
Exactly. So they are deep, and that's why I feel like, that's why Tatum doesn't get the love that he deserves, because he is ultimately on a stacked team. And
right,
no knock for Tatum, great player, but you're in a great situation. Like you're poised to be repeating and ultimately building the dynasty if Celtics want to go that route with how the cap space is going to be and if they're able to keep all their players together. But they're in a great situation. So
right.
He feels like he's overlooked, but the rings they're gonna add up. Those numbers are gonna add up, and then people are not gonna be overlooking you anymore.
Yeah. And one thing another thing that we have to talk about with Jayson Tatum is you haven't been in the MVP discussion despite having these 30-point per game seasons or 28 or whatever it is, because we know you have a monster squad. No one is saying that you should go to a lesser team or have lesser teams. Hey, Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, you got to leave so that way I can prove myself. No one is saying that. At the end of the day, Jayson Tatum is in a situation where since he came into the league, was in the playoffs, conference finals almost every year. Remember 2018 when he ran up against LeBron? He had a crew with him, even without Kyrie Irving. So for us, it's not that you're slept on or you're overrated. It's just that there are other guys who've individually separated themselves. Luka Doncic isn't an MVP, but we see what he does. We see how he can carry. Jayson Tatum, on the other end, could have a bad game and will still win the game. He didn't win Finals MVP, didn't win Conference Finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, but his teammate did. And if he wants to be able to not be slept on, he has to get those awards. And without getting those things, you haven't separated yourself.
Yep, totally agree with that. Because, and for me personally, I feel like Brown is not far from Tatum. I feel like they're almost equal. So it's not a bad thing that Brown got the Finals MVP. You got your Eastern Conference MVP. You got that. You got your ring. Hey, Larry Bird didn't get a Finals MVP his first ring.
Right.
Steph Curry didn't get a Finals MVP his first 3 rings. So, hey, you got to look at it. You got the ultimate goal.
Got to say this because you just brought up Steph Curry. This is perfect. And we got to talk about it because this is what we talk about when we watch the great players and why there's so much narratives and why the NBA is story driven. People love a story. What Jayson Tatum expressed in that quote, he's expressing what Steph Curry had to deal with for the last 4 or 5 years before he won the 2022 Finals MVP. Because every year after they won, Iguodala had the Finals MVP. Kevin Durant had it back-to-back years. Everyone was saying how, yeah, he's an MVP, but he didn't prove that he could be the number one option on a championship team. And now Steph Curry dealing with all of that. Going into 2022's NBA Finals, he won the championship and the Finals MVP. That's why you saw that emotion come out of him when he won the championship. This is what Jayson Tatum is having to deal with. The same thing that Steph Curry dealt with in 2022.
That is a complete fact. And it's crazy how people really thought Steph Curry couldn't be the guy when he clearly was the guy. Like Iguodala got it. We know why he got it. He guarded LeBron. He put up good stats. And KD is KD. But we know what Steph can do. We know the type of player he is. So we know that he deserved at least one of those Finals MVPs during that run. So that last one was amazing.
Look at Steph. Steph had better numbers than Andre Iguodala, and Iguodala still got the Finals MVP. So Tatum, the same thing that happened to you is happened to Steph Curry. And guess what? Steph Curry had to go out there and do what? Prove the doubters wrong. Go out and prove it on the floor. Jayson Tatum, you don't want to be overlooked. You don't want to be slighted. You have to go out there and prove it on the floor. You have to go out there and win you the Finals MVP. This is why the greatest are considered the greatest. They don't just put up numbers. They have the accolades. People are starting to see it. We talk about the GOAT debate all the time. It's not just about numbers. It's about the accolades to solidify and separate you as an individual. Jayson Tatum, that's what you got to do.
You could have said it better than myself, man. And you know, if the Celtics ultimately end up winning the championship this year, Tatum will probably get the Finals MVP.
Yeah,
based off
but he has to take
how
it, bro.
he has to take it. That's the thing.
He has to take it. Look at what happened to him, and we're going to talk about it because look at what happened in the Olympics. There were games he didn't play. Why is that? It's not a slight to you. What they're saying is you're not on that level yet. You haven't separated yourself on that degree like the other guys have. So there are games you don't play. And yeah, you took it on the chin. You played it well. It's motivation going into next year. But that's what you have to understand. There are players like Steph Curry, like I mentioned, LeBron, who had to deal with all of this stuff. They had to go out there and prove it. And when they proved it, guess what? No one can say nothing anymore. He has to do that. Steph Curry has solidified his career. He's one of the all-time greats. Finals MVP. That put a stamp on it. Tatum got to do the same. And the beauty of it, he's only 26. So much time left for him to prove that.
Yeah, people forget how young he really is because he's not even 30 yet, so he's still got a lot of growing to do.
26.
Yeah,
26.
he's been good since he came into the league. Like he literally was on the team that went to the conference finals multiple times, and he's never missed the playoffs. So he has all the accolades. He's accomplished everything.
Right.
So he just needs that Finals MVP.
Real quick, there was a graphic that was played on the network one time where they had three different players. You had one player through his 6 years in the NBA who averaged 22, 11, and something, right? And he was an NBA champion. You had one dude who averaged 33 or something through his first 6 years, all-stars, MVPs, but no championship. And then you had a dude who was averaging 22, 9, and like 5 with an NBA championship, no finals MVP, but was in a conference final every year minus one of his career. And guess what people were choosing out of those three? Because it was a blind reveal. They chose the last guy, was in the conference finals every year but 1 year of his career, who has a championship in year 6, who's 26. And guess who that person was? Jayson Tatum. The other person was Michael Jordan. And the first person was Larry Bird. So in other words, he's in a great place.
Wow. Yep. So, yeah, Tatum can't be mad. He can't be mad. I get it. I get he feels like he's slighted, but like you're in great company and you're still really young. You got time to really build that.
26, man. You trying to be the GOAT at 26? Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. So keeping on the MVP topic. So Jokic and Shea are the front runners for MVP this year. We seen what Jokic did with the 30, 20, 20 game, first in NBA history. Shea and Jokic faced off today. Shea got the best of him this game.
Yeah.
He had about 40 points. And Jokic, he did get hurt early in the game, had an elbow injury, but he still put up a near triple-double.
Yeah.
Who do you feel is the MVP this year? And do you feel like the narrative shifts every year as far as MVP?
Right now, this moment, 7:30 p.m. on Sunday, the MVP of the NBA is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you would have asked me that Sunday morning, or Friday night after Jokic had his 30, 20, 20 game, to me, it would still be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But the gap would have been this small because Jokic, with that performance, closed the gap. Before that, SGA was the front runner for the MVP, no question about it. After he scored 40 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists today. 48 and 5 today. Fourth straight 40-point game. He has 58 consecutive games with 20-plus points scored in a game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That dude is having as equivalent of a season as Kevin Durant did in his MVP season. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did it with a better true shooting percentage, better field goal, better three-pointer, and he is more efficient completely. If you just watch the way he plays, he's much more efficient, where he's shooting mid-range jumpers, he's getting to the baskets, he's doing all that. He's a 3-level scorer like we've ever seen. Jokic, on the other hand, when it comes to the MVP voting, we see him year in and year out prove us in a new, different way. in a brand new way why he's the MVP. We've never seen a guy who won so many MVPs, like LeBron's won so many MVPs. We saw Jordan get MVPs. And then there's the photo fatigue factor that comes in. But with Jokic, he shows us a new way. This year, he's averaging a triple-double. This is his greatest season ever. And yet we're talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander be the MVP. So in other words, we're saying that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's season this year is better than Jokic's MVP last year. It's better than Jokic's MVP in 2022. It's better than Jokic's MVP in 2021, which we all agree is not true. Especially this year, the way that Jokic is playing better than those MVP seasons, right? We all know that there's voter fatigue. We all know there's voter fatigue.
Yeah, for sure.
Doing, bro, we can't deny that. But SGA is due one. SGA is the MVP right now. And with the win today, the gap is right back to where it was before the 30-20-20 game.
Mm-hmm. But, I agree with that. But I wanted to ask you, why doesn't, probably the same reason for Tatum, why doesn't Donovan Mitchell get any love for MVP? He's best team in the whole NBA. That's
Bro, you're talking something. You're talking something. Best team in the NBA. But Donovan Mitchell on that team has Evan Mobley. He has Darius Garland. He has Jared Allen, who would have been an all-star if the other guys in the league weren't just so great. He has two other all-stars on his team. Arguably the coach of the year. My coach of the year, Kenny Atkinson. Mm-hmm. And look at his numbers. 23 points, 4 and 4. I'm sorry, that's not an MVP. I've never heard of an MVP winning MVP with 23 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. The numbers aren't strong enough, and he has a strong team.
Hey, hold on real quick. I'm on the light.
Yeah, no problem.
Mm-hmm. But about that, the numbers don't lie. But Nash won that MVP with like 16 and 11.
16 and 11. That's a double-double. Assists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Double-double and assists. Donovan Mitchell averaging 23, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He's done that almost every year of his career. Difference is his team is number one. So why is he being boosted up? I think he deserves some MVP voting. He deserves some recognition. But there's no doubt that it's between Jokic and SGA. It has to be. What do you think?
I think so too. To me personally, I thought SGA should have been MVP last year. And Jokic, man, his numbers is crazy right now. And he got better. And for me, I think he got better because the fact that Westbrook is there and he's that kind of like
in his ear, like, hey man, listen, this is what you gotta do. Yeah,
exactly. So for me, and this goes back to what I said a few years ago about Westbrook. Westbrook gets all this knock about his play and everything. I always tell people, all the stars that Westbrook's played with, they had their career high numbers with playing alongside him. KD, Paul George, James Harden, LeBron, and then LeBron's LeBron, but he cracked the 40K with Westbrook.
Yes, he did.
And then now he got Joker. And look what Joker's doing. So you gotta think about it.
Listen, and here's the biggest case because now we're getting to a point where we're gonna have to split hairs. If we were voting, we would have to split hairs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, best team in the West, 53 and 10, 53 and 11 now. He's not only averaging 32, 7 and 6 and 5, but he also has an all-star on his team. Jokic is the one guy we know who's won MVPs and has been the best player and had his team where it is without an all-star. He's screwed up, but no all-star, which is why I think he gets that much more recognition for the MVP because, again, he makes a new argument for us every single year. When you thought voter fatigue was going to keep him out of it, here he is showing us in a new way. Like that's what's going on with Jokic. No all-star.
I didn't think about that because he never had an all-star on his team. Like, this is the first time he's had Russell Westbrook, former all-star, former MVP.
Aaron Gordon went out in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it just doesn't show how great Jokic is. But I do feel like SGA got it this year. Like, I really feel that way. Yeah.
The voters is narrative driven, right? The voters owe him one. And the voters are like, listen, for Jokic to get it this year, he has to do something that can't be denied. Like, because right now his season can't be denied. But a loss today is where it's like, okay, cool. SGA, I'm still with SGA. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say it again. I just want to say this one more time. I want to reiterate it again. SGA is the MVP today. Jokic with his 30-20-20 game closed the gap. After winning it today, OKC, Shai is the MVP. This dude, 4 straight 40-point games. 58 consecutive games with 20-plus scored in a game. higher field goal percentage, higher true shooting percentage, higher free throw percentage than Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in their MVP season.
Wow, that's a good stat right there.
Crazy.
That's a good stat right there. But I always say that we always have those games where the two MVP candidates go up against each other in the regular season, where the MVP talk is really hot, and
Yep.
then that one decided game, it will show who's the real MVP that year. I remember specifically, it was the year that Kobe got his MVP. It was him and Chris Paul in the front running, and Kobe was going at it. Like, he went crazy. He caught a reverse dunk during that game, and when he caught that dunk, I was like,
It
that's
was
the
over
MVP
after that.
right there. That was
Yeah.
over. I was like, he's getting it this year.
And he went to the
That
finals that
solidified
year.
right there. He went to finals that year. Yep. So I
Yep.
feel like that game today for SGA, that solidified him as the MVP.
Yeah. And now that you bring up Kobe with that, what about Jokic and Embiid when they was meeting for that? Jokic got the better of him, but guess what? Embiid got the numbers and his team won. And guess what? He ended up winning MVP. And the beauty about this MVP race this year, that today is just one game. They play again tomorrow. They're playing a back-to-back. So Jokic has another opportunity to go out there and ball out, get a W, and bring it back to where the gap is closing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Hopefully everybody's healthy for that game, because sustaining all them injuries, hopefully they'll be fine.
I want to say it one more time because it's important. SGA today is the MVP. Before this game, Jokic's 2020 game, the cap got closed. They played again today. OKC won. Shea had 40. 4 straight games now. 58 straight games with 20-plus points. Field goal, true shooting percentage, offensive box score. I didn't even mention that one. Has a better offensive box score than KD and Russell Westbrook in their MVP seasons. So right now, he's the MVP. But they play again tomorrow. So Jokic has another chance to close the gap back to where it was.
Yep. So hopefully Jokic can, close the gap. We're gonna have a real run on our hands.
That's a fact.
So
That's a fact.
the last topic I'm going to talk about, we're going to talk about the whole LeBron and Stephen A. Smith situation.
Oh, man.
So Stephen A. just got $100 million contract from ESPN. And, we all know what Stephen A. is about. We all know that he is very outgoing when it comes to his case. He was not about
Muted.
There we go. So he was not shy about his critique on Bronny, and he urged LeBron to stop with all of this. LeBron ended up approaching him.
Yeah.
And we all know what he said. As a father, we all know what Bron's thinking, what he said. I want to know, do you feel like he did the right thing, or do you feel like he was out of line? Do you feel like Stephen A. was out of line?
Listen, before I answer that question, I want to throw it back at you. You're a father now. You got a son. LeBron said what he said. Stephen A. said what he said on the reporter side. How do you feel? You cover sports. More importantly, you're a father too. So how do you feel, being that you have both sides, that you can see it from?
I feel like LeBron's completely right about it. Like all the talk about Bronny's not being ready. And, LeBron probably know he's not ready.
Yeah.
And Bronny probably knows he's not ready. That's why he's in the G League. He's down there balling in the G League. He's averaging about 21 points. He's hooping. He's getting the experience down there. And then he's coming up with the Lakers. And he gets to watch, actually, them playing and trying to figure things out. And he's not getting a lot of time with the Lakers.
Yeah.
But, he's still learning just being in that environment.
Yeah.
And LeBron approaching Stephen A., I feel like he did the right thing, because it's like, you're not going to keep talking about my son in this way when we all know what it is. We all know that he's still learning. We all know he's still developing. You don't need to keep going on with that. So I feel like LeBron was perfectly right.
Yeah. My turn?
Yeah.
Listen, I understand. Listen, we live in a society now where you're either all the way on this side or you're all the way on that side. When a situation like this one right now, it's very in the middle. Because I'm a firm believer that in life, 2 things can be true. 3 things can be true. 4 things can be true at the same time. In this case, LeBron was being protective of his father. Be protective of his son. He's being a great father, all of that stuff, which is perfectly fine and he should do. Stephen A., on the other hand, is being a guy who's a journalist, who talks about sports, who talks about narratives and stories all the time. So he's doing what he has to do. I understand people are going to say, well, Stephen A was showing low lights while he was talking about Bronny James' career high minutes against Philadelphia 76ers. Well, he wasn't disrespecting him. You know how many? The ticker on the bottom says Bronny struggles in career high minutes versus Philly. You know how many sports outlets, how many sports personalities would take that and drag it and say that Bronny had a horrible night or make a pun out of it, like Bronny Tronny, something like that. He struggled basically. They would run through it. But Stephen A. Smith was just talking about how he struggled and telling LeBron James, listen, we all know he's your son and you want him to flourish, but stop it. Let him develop, let him do his thing. Because what pressure you're putting on him is what's causing all of the backlash towards Bronny. I want to say this because it's considered a hot take when I say this, but LeBron, the way he approached Stephen A. is perfectly right as from a father's perspective. I would also say that LeBron also has to consider the heat and attention and the spotlight he put on Bronny. He blurred the lines. He muddied the waters. He made a huge gray area where people feel like they can't tap. Stephen A. didn't say anything that people who cover sports media haven't been saying. He said everything that everyone else is saying. LeBron, on the other hand, he's the one in 2022 who said he will do whatever it takes to play with Bronny. He'll go wherever it is that Bronny is to go play, which means if I'm an owner and I hear that, guess what I'm thinking? I'm going to go and try to draft Bronny so I can get LeBron James. They're thinking about you, LeBron, right? And then on top of that, the year after, you tweet how Bronny is better than some of the dudes in the NBA.
Yep.
No, media didn't say that. You said that. And because you said that, you brought attention on him. And guess what? LeBron deleted that tweet. And then he tweeted how, just let my kid be a kid and enjoy basketball on the college level. Right? But then again, you delete that tweet, but you also are saying that your son is good enough to play better than the other guys who are in the NBA right now. But don't you want him to just play? Then don't bring attention to him. And guess what? We find out on draft night that your agent, Rich Paul, who's your boy, basically your boy, is talking for you, saying that if anyone drafts Bronny, he's going to play overseas.
That was crazy.
Listen, no one is blaming LeBron. We all, if I had a son, Jared, you had a son. If you guys had an opportunity to play together in the professional league in the NBA, you can do everything you want to do to make sure it happens. No one's arguing. Nepotism happens everywhere in the league. But when you sit here and try to pretend and play both sides, like I'm innocent, but I'm also, part of the problem, you can't do that, LeBron. And then on top of that, you bring your son in and you have that moment the first game. And then after that, he's struggling. He's balling in the G League, averaging 21, 5 and 5. Mac McClung is an MVP of the G League, averaging 25, 4 and 5, a 3-time slam dunk contest champion, right? 3-peated. He can't get minutes on the NBA roster. So just because Bronny's balling on the NBA, on the G League level, does not mean that he is good enough to be on the NBA. We know a bunch of guys who aren't good enough to play in the NBA who are balling in the G League. So respectfully, two things can be true. LeBron just has to understand he muddied the waters and he graded the heck out of the situation.
I agree with that completely. It is funny because that whole tweet, I actually seen that tweet earlier today too. Like someone posted it about LeBron saying Bronny's better than a lot of players that he see on League Pass. And
these cats LeBron, I see on League Pass, not just players. These cats I see on League Pass. Come on, bro.
So LeBron, he did bring a lot of heat on Bronny. He put a lot of pressure on him, and it's your son. I get it. It's your child. You want the best for him. You're going to push him. You're going to root for him. And you're going to defend him. But if you want to dish out all that stuff, I agree. You're going to have to be able to take it as well. So I totally agree with that.
I'm looking at my phone because I want to read something that my brother sent me. Because my brother is a father. He has a daughter who I love. My niece. I miss her all the time. I go to Toronto. I miss her all the time. And we was talking about, because he's a huge LeBron fan. And we was talking about it, and I asked him a question. I asked him, they only critiquing his game. That's what I said, right? And then he came back and said, if they spoke about my daughter the way that Stephen A. do, if I see him, it's on site. So to me, it's like, I understand as a parent, if you hear something like that about your son, your child, you're gonna have a problem. However, your son is not just your son; he's an NBA player. In 2009, you notice, Jared, in 2009, LeBron against the Celtics got fouled one game, tangled up with Paul Pierce, ran into the baseline where the fans are. LeBron's mom was in the stands. There was a little scuffle. It was nothing, it was just transition or whatever, KG and Paul Pierce. LeBron's mom was right there standing up, trying to get into the middle of it because that's her son, LeBron James. And LeBron, guess what he said? He told his mom, sit your bleep down. Like, stay out of this. Like, stay out of this. Sit your bleep down. Your mom is just trying to protect her son. But you also understand you're an NBA player. And KG was right there like, no, mom, it's okay. It's no big deal. Even he was like, nah, this is your mom. I'm not even going to go do that. We all understand that. And LeBron's doing the same thing for Bronny. But he also has to understand that he did this to Bronny too.
That's good. 100% agree, because you're going to put Bronny in that spotlight. You got to let him go through it as well.
You got to let him go through it. You ain't going to do nothing for him by trying to protect him and Stephen A. Lastly, too, man, like there's so much we could say about this. Like he pulled up on Stephen A. Rich Paul has his number. Maverick Carter has his number. Whatever, you don't want to get it, cool, whatever. You see him, it's on site, whatever. But you made that choice. You are the guy that people look at and say that you like to, be all about narratives. People have been saying that about LeBron. He's very calculated. He knew cameras were around. He knew how it was going to be perceived.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's a great chance that he also was motivated by that. I'm not trying to question him as a father, nothing. There's a great chance he was motivated by that. I'm not trying to defend Stephen A. I'm just saying there's so many people who get mad at Stephen A. who actually go contact, talk about it. Don't do that. The worst I've ever seen is Marcus Morris after a game on the Wizards hit him on the backside, like on some, like good game. But come to find out that Marcus Morris was actually mad at him. And Stephen A. was like, all right, now I got a problem with that. But that's it.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because it is, like you said, it is a gray area with all this situation, because, Bronny, he clearly isn't ready, but, LeBron acted like he is ready. So, and Stephen A., as a journalist, he's going to say something about it, especially the magnitude of Stephen A.'s, star power, I should say.
Face of sports talk media.
Yeah, sports talk media is, you're going to be the talk of the town. You're LeBron, you're Bronny, you're the talk of the town. You got to take it. Honestly, you have to take it.
What do you think about the fact that LeBron did that during a timeout in the middle of the third quarter, during JJ's huddle, that he went over there and did that? What do you think about that? That's what I'm saying. Like, it was on site when you do that, right?
I thought if the things was going to be said, I thought they should have probably waited until after the game or before the game. Yeah. And then, ultimately, I mean, I'm a firm believer of, if you're going to be out in this open trying to disrespect somebody, you got to give it back to them. I get that. So
you can dish, you can take it.
Yeah, you can dish, you can take it. So, Stephen A. on TV talk about Bronny, then LeBron, public figure out in the open during the game, goes up to Stephen A. I get it, but, both of that, all this could have been behind closed doors. That's what I think. But, it is what it is. Bron probably was, high off emotions. Probably seen Stephen A. just thought, I'm going over there right now. Yep.
Didn't even think about it, just black. Like, I'm going.
Exactly. Like, he just saw him. I'm approaching him right now. Like, forget after the game. I'm going right now. Yeah. And you see him, Markieff Morris right next to him every day, right?
Scott Brooks too.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
right there, like, let me just, before, because they do that all the time. It's just like we're gonna let any of our players go anywhere by themselves, anywhere in the arena where outside of the line. So it's protocol. I get that. But the fact that they were right there, you know what I'm saying, and they were just minding their business, like nothing's happening. They were trying their best to diffuse it by not giving it any attention. But obviously got caught on camera.
Yep. So that's why it looks crazy, because, Lakers, Stephen A., LeBron, the whole situation, it looks crazy. But
for real,
it is what it is. But
you think he pressed him though? Like, you feel like Stephen A. got punked? I don't think Stephen A. got punked. I think it was more like, like, you're approaching me as a father. I'm not trying to go there because I'm a journalist. I'm not trying to personalize. How do you feel about it?
I think it wasn't like he punked him or anything like that. I feel like, they exchanged words and said some things. I don't think it was like a punk or anything. I was just like, I just think he came up there and was like, yo, listen, you need to tone it down with my son. Like, chill out. Yeah. Yeah, but like, I didn't watch Stephen A.'s take about it the next day on First Take. I didn't see what he said about it. Did you see it?
I saw that. I saw the Stephen A. Smith show as well. Like,
what did he say about it?
So basically, he started off by saying he didn't want to address it, but it went viral, so that's why he wants to address it. Because obviously, once it gets out there, everyone sees it. You got to address it. So he talked about that and how he was at the game. It was in the middle of the third quarter. He wasn't expecting it to happen. LeBron approached him and he's like, "Hey man, keep my son out of it. Whatever you say, stop effing with my son." And LeBron's like, "What are you?" And Stephen A's like, "What are you talking about?" And LeBron's like, "Man, stop that, man. Stop playing with me. Like man to man. Keep my son out of it. Stop effing with my son." But there's also a report out there. If you read LeBron's lip, he said, "I'm gonna say it one time, bro. Keep my son out of this bleak, bro." So he addressed that and talked about how he's incredibly sad because I wasn't talking to LeBron James, the basketball player. I was talking to LeBron James, the father, the person. And when that happened, I just had no choice but to stand down, because as a father of 2 daughters, I totally understand it. I'll do anything for my kids. And when LeBron approached me like that, I knew he was coming from the place of a father, not the basketball player, not the billionaire who does all the things with basketball and on and off the court, the father.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, he decided to step down. On the podcast, he reiterated the same thing, but went further to say that he's sad not only because LeBron stepped to him like that, and as a father, he was sad because he's also right about what he said and stands by it. And he sucks because he's your son, but he's also a basketball player.
Mm.
And Draymond Green don't talk to him no more, and there are players in the league who will get upset at him. And obviously, you know, this is part of it. He also revealed how him and LeBron and Stephen A don't F with each other. Like, officially, they do not F each other. But behind closed doors, they do not F with each other, which is probably part of the reason why LeBron steps in that way.
Okay. Well, kudos to Stephen A for that, because that's a real answer.
Yeah.
Like saying that, LeBron sucked you as a father, that I felt like, I had to chill out. Like, that's real. I understand that completely.
Yeah. Everyone here, I don't have kids, but I tell you right now, I never get into a place where it's like I'm gonna mess with someone's kid, because I know that's someone's kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we kids or whatever, and there's another kid that we're in a playground and some bullshit happens, parents are gonna look at it and be like, they're just kids, right? Like, this kid ain't, hurting my kid in a way. He's just a kid himself. But if it's another adult messing with my kid, the lights go, like, something goes off in your head where it's just, no, I'm not allowing this. And I understand that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a moment like that? Have you ever had a moment like that yet? You don't gotta be nice, man. You ever had a moment like that yet?
I mean, no, because my kid is only 7 months, so he ain't nothing like that happening yet.
You're right. I'm just
eventually, probably.
Primal instinct come out. I can see it, bro.
Probably. It'll probably happen eventually, but I mean, I understand what LeBron's going through, but like we said, he put that target on Bronny's back, so he has to learn to deal with it. He has to learn to deal with it, because it ain't just Stephen A saying these things. It's a lot of these sports media talk show hosts that's saying these things. So it's like, if you say that to Stephen A, what about everybody else? You can't just single Stephen A out. The whole world is saying it. So it's a slippery slope.
And what's wild about that, again, there were times, again, the ticker says, Stephen A says, Bronny struggles in career high minutes versus the Philadelphia 76ers. How many sports media outlets and personalities do you know would have taken that and made it even worse? They would have described that in a much more controversial, heated, negative way, trolling way. We all know that. So you got to give credit where it's due. It's hard as a parent to hear that sometimes about your kid, who is your son, that you've watched grow up, that you've spent so much time around, obviously, that is a part of you. However, when you tweet what you tweet and say what you say, you kind of put your son in that situation a little bit. You put Bronny James, an NBA player for the Los Angeles Lakers, in that situation.
Exactly.
Come on, man. He's not just your son.
Exactly. Like, I don't think he understood the magnitude of the tweets that he did, and him being LeBron James Jr. And then you put all that pressure on him, and you made it well known. Hey, wherever Bronny goes, I'm going. He better come to the Lakers or else. So it's a lot of layers to this whole situation.
100%, man. And I'm just glad
I don't think both of them are wrong. Honestly, I don't think both of them are wrong. Like, as a journalist, I understand what Stephen A is saying, and as a father, I understand what LeBron is saying.
And that's it. Like no one. The only people who are saying that, like Stephen A, you're a B, you're this, you're that, are the people who are online, the trolls, man, which we don't give credence to anyway. They're just talking it up. They're just yapping, like the kids say. That's it.
Exactly. Like, he knows the territory that he's in. He knows the platform he has. With Stephen A, he knows what it comes with. He said him and Allen Iverson was really good friends, and he wrote something about Allen Iverson, and they stopped talking for a long time until they hashed it out. So Stephen A knows what it is.
Yeah. Like, that's a great example, man. 100%. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But I want to thank you for being on, brother. It's always good chopping it up with you. We've been talking for so long about doing this, and we finally got it done. So I appreciate you jumping on.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Look, listen, we used to do this all the time in college. It's crazy how it comes full circle. I appreciate it. I see the work you're doing, man. Congratulations. Big up to you. I'm so hyped to be part of this. And hey, listen, I'm happy to come back. There's a lot of great basketball going on. The WNBA is around the corner, man. There's so many things we could tap into.
And we definitely got to talk about WNBA because there's a lot going on.
Yes, we Yo.
Mhm.
Yes.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you too, man. Have a great one. Appreciate it. Do it again.
You too, brother.
All right.